Now let's talk about temporary tables, and I just want to show you how to build a temporary table and how to use it, and then we'll talk about some table variables and some other things. And I'm going to show you a cool trick by the time we get through here of how you can use these in your stored procedures. So what I'm going to do right now is in the AdventureWorks LT 2008 database, I'm just going to do a new query, and we're going to create a temporary table. Very easy to do. We just type create table, put a pound sign, and we'll call it ML, jump to the next line, open our parentheses, and then let's put our columns. We'll say first name and the data type. So there's our first column, then last name and the data type. That's a column that I'm going to use. You'll see why in just a minute. Come down here and close it. Now, if I execute that and get it all, notice the command completed successfully. I now have a temporary table out there. Now, a temporary table is going to be created in the TempDB database, but it's only going to exist for as long as this particular login session is working. Once I log out or I disconnect from the service for this particular connection, this temporary table is going to be erased. It's going to go away. Now, as it is right now, my particular session, this particular context, is the only thing that can access this temporary table. Now, what can I do with this temporary table? Well, let's say that I need to manipulate some data or I need to do some subset type work on the data. I can do some cool things with it. First of all, I can populate it with data very easily. Let me show you something here. What I'll do is come right here and do an insert. You may not have seen this command. This will be good if you haven't. Insert into and just say pound ML, and I will select, let me get down to the next line. I will select first name, last name, modified date from sales LT customer. I'm going to do where modified date is less than 1/1/2003. So I'll get everything that's 2001, 2002, 2000, that sort of thing. And so I can execute the insert into command. Notice 621 rows went in just like that. Now I can select from ML, and there's my data. What I can do at this point, if I need to manipulate this data to try to do reporting on it or group it a certain way, I can now do it, and I'm not affecting the underlying data on my original sales LT customer database table now. And there are times that you're going to want to do that. Where I like to use this stuff is in a stored procedure where you get one of these calls to create data for a report, and we want to see every user that's was in the database before 2003, whose last name started with G, who bought something at 20% or more discount, who paid on time, blah, blah, blah. You know how these queries go. Well, I can dump that data into a table inside my stored procedure, and it runs that way every time, no matter what. Now, let me show you another cool way to do this. And what's really cool, what I like about these temporary tables is I can build them. They will come into being only while my procedure is running, and then I can delete them, or I can just close it out when the stored procedure, when it all goes out of scope, the table goes away, and so forth. But there's an even easier way to do that. And so what I'm going to do is drop this table, pound ML, and I'll execute that. Now the table's gone. If I try to select from it now, if I hadn't done that, I would really be doing good. Let me select from ML. You'll notice there's nothing there. It's going to say invalid object name. I don't see anything. Well, rather than creating the table and rather than doing an insert into, well, what I can do now is change this up a little bit. I can say select the first name, last name, modified date, and I can put into pound ML. And what this will do is this will create the table for me based on the result set that comes out. So this really is a shortcut. So I don't have to create the table the first time. And notice when I execute this, it did it all in one step, and now I can select from it, and there I have my data. Now the big difference there is the insert into drops the data into a table that's already there. Select into creates the table with the result set. Now that's huge, because what I can start to do is I can now do a select last name into pound MLLN from pound ML. Now I could put a where clause, right, a different where clause for any kind of condition I want here, and continue to further subset my data. And so now I can do a select asterisk from pound MLLN, And you will notice that I've created another temporary table with that result set. Now, I hope that makes sense, and I hope the little lights are flashing for you, because you can do this stuff inside a stored procedure, and then you can step through later and see every step of the way. And then when you stop running your stored procedure, all this stuff goes away. And at the very end, this is what would be exposed for a report. So go back through this example, look at it a couple of times, turn all of this stuff into a stored procedure. Just carry out all of these actions inside a stored procedure, and you can get some really cool stuff happening, and you can go back and trace through the stored procedure and show a client exactly where all that data is coming from and what it looks like.